So I have this track that I wrote some time ago, and it's kind of finished, but it's a mix, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the Unfairchild here. All right, trial. What's the latency like on this? Oversampling 2 times. All right, so it's 0 latency on no oversampling, and it's only 0.6 milliseconds on a 512 samples buffer size at 48 kilohertz. And if we go 4 times at 0.8, so this is as real time as it gets for me. 0.9 at oversampling 16 times. That's some efficient stuff right there. All right. So I'm going to press play and I'm going to try and see how this fares. I don't know if this is actually is it bothering you here? No, it works, right? I don't know if this is a no mix bus print. So this is good because this is a print I've done of this song of mine without the mix bus, which is good because this is going to act as a mix bus. I am not sure the frequency balance is okay, like how much of a low frequency content we have. So let's press play and let's hear the song. It's the best thing to do. Before we continue, I would like to spend 2 words on why this video is possible. It happens because of my patrons. I have a Patreon in which I teach songwriting, scoring for video games and writing soundtracks, being creative, exploring hardware synthesizers, analog outboard, virtual instruments, sample libraries, mixing and mastering. We talk about recording. There's a lot of cool people in there. Check my Patreon out if you would like to support me. It really means a lot to me and it makes these videos and the future ones possible. So thank you very much. No mix bus, I can tell. I like how it's moving, but like the dry electronic drums are kind of too in the middle, but they're not soaking water as much as I wanted to. So let's try these out. And one way that I would use this is, first and foremost, we have to recalibrate the meters to, I think, -13. I'm gonna press play. We're gonna see where the meters float because I would kind of want this VU to tell me about where we are. All right, so first thing, we calibrate the meters. I'm okay with that. -14 works for me. And I know my kind of mixing approach. So even without a mix bus, we got tons of transients and it works. So the first thing we could do is just not use it for compression. I just want to hear the vibe of this thing, okay? So I'm gonna keep it at 12. That I know is a famous kind of unity gain situation on the 670. And I'm just gonna instantiate it. We know, however, from what we tried, that we might get some gain action going on, okay? So there's not gonna be any compression. The threshold is at 0. We're gonna make sure. But how does it feel? Let's try that. And if it feels louder, I'm gonna dip it down with the output knob, the trim. Let's call it trim because it's a super clean one, just not to get fooled with gain staging, right? So let's do that. Am I good at pretending I'm hearing things? Like, how was my face? 0 to 10, honest. Like, it looked like I knew what was going on, right? I was actually thinking, what am I going to have for dinner? And now I know that I actually took some things out of the freezer, so I know what we're going to have. But while thinking about that, I actually got kind of a good impression of it. So, number one thing, we were not getting definitely +4 of gain. It could be, it felt like a 0.4, 0.6. So, no. Why is Plugin Doctor pushing 4 dBs while on a full spectrum test signal, while that is not happening on our music? Is anything broken? No, it's because we're not sending a full spectrum signal at all times with the mix. So whatever, it's just not feeling a +4. So 12 has that unity gain feel. It does feel louder for sure. I'm gonna keep it at +4 oversampling just for kicks. I know you wanted a +16 though. I just know you people wanted a +16. So we're gonna go +16. We're gonna see if the computer just dies on us. So no compression. Good. I kind of hear it not as open in the sides as the bypass. And the lows are different. They're a little bit, how can I say that? It's a little bit watery. So it's a good representation of a Varimu tube compressor set in amplifier mode only, I think. And it has that, not a presence, but it has a grit in the center, but the reverbs are not breathing as much as before. So that's just the amping going on. We could change it with the THD. That's the next thing I'm gonna do. Push the THD up or down, see if we find a sweet spot. I kind of like it when it's not pushing too much, but I don't like it when it's discharging itself. I'm a 0.0 believer. I don't know what you think, but I mean, the THD sounds okay where that is. So it gets obviously a little bit kind of brighter on the fake hats. So I don't know. Let's try and push the input gain now, where things become more like you can't change the THD on the real unit, right? It's balanced at 0. This is kind of a plug-in thing, an in-the-box benefit, but you can drive more input into the unit and hear what is happening, to your song, which is how a lot of people actually like to use Varimu compressors and old Fairchilds, even plugins. No compression, just pushing gain into it. Okay, so I'm gonna keep it at GR. I don't want compression to just show up, so I'll keep an eye on it. And I'll just go input gain up, and then I'll balance it down with our output trim. Have you heard it? Have you heard it? I think you did. Have you heard how like 10 is collapsing? The saturation is kind of gluing things together in a way that I'm losing definition. So if this is a rock record, if this is acoustic stuff, it could be the ticket just to glue things around. But in my case, and that's an explanation as to why I don't use a lot of old school Varimu emulations, I'm losing the definition. And the fun thing is that it's not sounding as louder as it seems, right? But we're pushing gain into the unit and we're not compensating. I tried to compensate minus 1.5. It was already, whoa, like clearly quieter. Insane. So it does that tube push thing. It just blooms inside of itself and it's not giving you back 100% of just clean gain trim. It doesn't feel like it's coming out on the other side just louder. It feels like it's blooming inside of the unit and it's coming out a little bit thicker somehow, but also heavier, less agile. So I wonder what happens if I go 14 rather than 10. So let's keep 12. Let's go 14, and I'm probably gonna have to go up. Trust me, the input gain knob is requiring as much attention as we're giving it to. It's not just like done. No. It's probably 70% of your Fairchild thing. Okay, so I found my kind of personal, my PB in video gaming on the Fairchild. Like I know the music I make. I took something that's quite representative of future stuff I'm going to release, and it's like going lower than 14, than 12 on a mix bus is giving me kind of the balance I like. Now I could go 8 and then go 30% mix, but I'd rather think of my way of mixing as going into the unit as it is, right? So, and let's try and compress and hear what compression does on an Unfairchild in a song like mine. I'm gonna try and start pretty much where I was here, and let's see. Okay, so what have I done? I've just mostly kissed the needle to not get even a 1 dB GR of compression ratio, right? Of compression amount. Why have I done that? Well, you remember that the values for, the attack times pretty much are 0.2 milliseconds to, 0.8. Okay. So in its current state, the way the 670 was made, it's such a program leveler that you're going to have a fast attack time for catching things, and then you're going to have a slow release. So it's kind of, again, a program leveler. Music back then was not what we make today. And so we hear two things. One, it is amazing how even a plugin, even other plugins, it's amazing how it's still relevant to our genres, to our modern way of making music, without being kind of understanding of what we want to do with fast digital transients. But it's not wrong. It vibes. It's got its own voice. For being 0.2, I mean, come on. You cannot do something like this on an 1176, which has, faster attack times. But it's kind of, I don't think it's a fixed 0.2. It's kind of a musical kind of thing. So it's nice. But the second thing is that because it's such a fast attack, I think just using it as a program limiter of the old school era, it's kind of nice if you want to compress. So I'm not saying you should use it that way, but I'm saying if you're using it this way and you want compression, I kind of think one of the factors is a 0.2 seconds release or a 0.4, 0.8. You have, okay, 0.8 might be a little bit long, but as a program leveler, it feels nice. And because this mix has no mix bus, this print I have, I can hear things kind of fall into place. So we are going to compress the side. The side content is going to go down. So it's going to feel like we have less side, but then we're going to push the input. We're not going to push the output because we can't push the output of the single side channel, right? We can't do it. We have one trim that works for both channels. But what we're going to do is that we're going to push the side into the compressor more, resulting in more side content, but also less dynamic range in the side content. But the mid channel keeps being naturally uncompressed or maybe slightly compressed. We're going to see that. Okay. That's the gist of it. Let's try that. Have you heard it? So Studio Hino says Viareggio. I can't believe it. I'm from Florence. My mother-in-law lives in Viareggio. So I'm sorry, but mia suocera. So, all right. So I know Viareggio, of course, so nice. Have some good kind of full seaside time for me as well. Just breathing the air. Nice. Little bit of a Prosecco thing. All right, so it's also close to dinner time. So this is extremely dangerous because I'm like derailing my own self. My stomach is taking precedence and priority over everything. Have you heard what it does? Have you heard how, at loud volumes, I like the uncompressed version, because it's just like things are hitting everywhere and it's kind of nice to feel it. But there's a control factor of that thing that you can't really put your hands on. You can't say it's compressed, but it feels coherent. And when this video will be released, go back and listen to this. I'm actually going to do it again. What you should do, I can do it for you. I'll do it for you. Don't do anything. I'll take the volume fader and I'll drop it down, okay? So we're going to listen to this without and with at low volume. you've got no idea how drastic this is, okay? Because at loud volumes, uncompressed is kind of fun. Things fly, hit you around. There's a lot of things I compose that move around. But hear me out at low volume. Let's do a sort of a dim thing, -16, okay? Without and with. Huge difference. When I hear it compressed, there's that it does never give out, right? The details are pushing, but our speakers are low volume, so they're kind of never giving up. The side content is where my reverbs are, where my details are, the ear candy, and they're kind of gently being pushed up there. You have to contextualize why I'm saying this. I'm gonna say it, but if I weren't saying this, this is how you should think. Alberto makes music mostly for scores that go under something, okay? So something is happening. It could be action, dialogue, gaming effects, atmospheric stuff, things that people have to listen to because it's an enemy, footsteps, sounds being around, things like that, or elements of the game, right? So it's only natural that I like my music to be detailed at low volumes without being overwhelming, but without giving out, without being weak, right? And that I am okay at sacrificing these fun, explosive elements a little bit, not a lot, you know, when music is loud. Because if it's a cut scene, if I know I'm writing music for a cut scene, that's a different story. Because it's fixed, you're not playing a video game, you're maybe watching a TV series, you're standing down, you're watching something passively, there's no alteration of anything. But if you're playing and this is a background music that is meant to enhance the experience, I cannot make music that will jump over your sound effects. You will never put the music at 100% and the game effects at 50. I don't know if you do that. I don't do it. You know, even if it's my own music, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't want to know what is happening in the game, you know, or the dialogue of the movie, and then have the music underneath. What I would do now, as a kind of a last test, is I would try one of the VAR settings. And I think for a mix like this, I would probably work with VAR 3 because we have about 110 milliseconds at the fastest release, 4.8 is plenty, and then we have 0.4 to 18. This could work, or maybe VAR 4. Maybe VAR 4, because 200 milliseconds on a Fairchild is kind of, you know, we're gonna see. However, let's go VAR 4, because I've used that and I liked it a lot. So let's reset these and keep working, this time in independent mode. Actually, you know what? I should go back. Thank you, undo. All right. And do preset A. So now we have B. And so we go independent. I don't want to compress the two channels the same. We're going to go VAR 4. I'm going to link the channels though, just because I don't want the compression effect to be the same, but I want the controls to be the same. And then we're going to work with these, the attacks and releases. Let's hear now something that is really different from the Fairchild, because the Unfairchild, Eric Valentine, these VAR modes are unique to it. Let's try that. So this is something I don't get from the other Fairchilds. So this is now with the DC threshold at 10, as hard and knee as we can. Have you noticed I was going 0 and it was compressing more because it's a soft knee thing? I don't like, for these type of music, I kind of like to be a 10 or 8, or, you know, I went all the way to 10. Attack 2, attack 7, release 2. So we have kind of a mid fast attack. What could it be here? Could be maybe 18 milliseconds and then 300 milliseconds release. I don't know. It just sounds close to what my rock rufle does. Maybe it's not, my rock rufle isn't that hardeny, but I would say from 10 to 8, it kind of sounds like it's that ticket. And it's moving to that fast release, very modern. I like these a lot. I gotta say VAR 4 is kind of my favorite of all. The VAR is just because the releases and attacks are there. The other thing I was noticing is that if you switch to external, you do still have compression. So external, sorry, means that it's feed forward maybe. We should try that. I'm gonna try that. No, I'm thinking that this actually is really external. So what we should do is we should duplicate this song, right? Send it down here, copying it, call these sidechain and remove this, and use this track here as our sidechain, which obviously sidechains are gray, right? Obviously. So how do we do that? We go here, we open the sidechain input on Unfairchild, and we select sidechain pre. So now we have the same song going into the external sidechain. We're feeding it the same stuff, but it becomes feed forward because of how the circuit was designed. So now I'm gonna do the same thing on VAR 4, but feed forward, which should be even more like, you know, money, you know, put the Fairchild money where the Fairchild mouth is, sort of. Also, I should disable the output of the sidechain, otherwise we're gonna hear it twice, which we just did. Okay, so this gets, okay, it's kind of weird the way it's compressing in feed forward, but what I did is just I've pushed what, plus 12? Plus 6, okay. I've pushed the sidechain gain to plus 6, and if you notice, it did compress more. I'm just not, I was expecting more of a old school kind of approach, so I'm kind of, you know, I'm kind of puzzled as to what it did, but it keeps sounding fine. It's sounding to me, whatever it's doing, even if it's bugging itself into itself, it sounds definitely more overt. Like it's coming out at you and just saying like, okay, you want it bolts here? Here it is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch back to internal, disable this track, actually maybe even mute this thing, right? Muted, just so we're sure we're not sending it. And I'm gonna go back to independent mid side, however, unlink var4, I want to still tweak a little bit of the independent channels, but I also want to have a bit of a different knee on the mid and the side, and then we're going to close the stream. This is kind of advanced. I want to see if I can make kind of a unique way of approaching the mid being hard knee with the side being softer knee, but the mid channel having shorter attacks, like, longer attacks, and the side content being a little bit more cohesive. Let's try that. And I think var4 will work for that. All right, so let's make sure things are where they should be because they're all over the place, maybe, I don't know. So I'm gonna go soft knee, completely soft knee on the side first, and then we're gonna take it from there and see. I wanna first do the mid channel. You hear how it's closing down? Doesn't sound bad, but it's narrower because the side content's being put to 20, so it's just lower volume, less harmonics and stuff. Now we keep pushing, we keep the mid where it is, and we push the sides up with compression. For example, hear these out. These sounds wrong to me. The side content is too much, and it's kind of making my head tilt in a weird way. Right? You heard that, right? It's much better to have no side content, because that's mono or close to mono. It's not really mono, but it's very narrow, than having the side content completely overwhelming the mid. But between these 20 and 0 lies the balance that we probably want, right? I'm thinking this is a little bit too much of a soft knee. I'm gonna go 3. Let's see. You noticed how when that sub hit came, if you've seen that, maybe you'll rewatch the video, the side gain reduction meter went boom, and it stayed down there, and then it came back up, but it didn't feel like it was doing that. It didn't feel like it was sinking down the side content that much. This is proof of kind of a cool Vari-Mu emulation. That's what I get from the Phoenix here, from the Rock Rupel as well, but mostly the Phoenix when I use it on orchestral percussion. You hear those timpanis go boom, and the needles go whoop all the way down, and then they come back, but the music just feels like it's going, and they hit you like a truck. But if you weren't to just watch the meters, you would say, that's too much compression, for sure. But Vari-Mus on especially low frequency content and percussion transients, they sound beautiful without, you looking at the meter say like, is it too much? They just feel great. So here it happened the same thing. The needle went back to -3 or something, but the music just kept on rolling, and it's nice. So you could even turn the side compression channel into feed forward. I don't know if you can do that on the original unit without having phase issues. I don't know, maybe not, I don't know. Just so you can put the mid content to external, so it's feed forward, and the side channel on the site content on internal, so it's feedback, for example. On behalf of the amazing Ultimate Warrior, reigning and protecting us over, from heaven, we can say that this stream was kind of cool because it's a super cool plugin. We tried it on my music. I'm happy that it did what it did, and it's only gonna get better because bug fixing, improvements, new functions we know they're gonna add. So remember to check out my Patreon because there's cool stuff there. We do a lot of these, and we're doing mixes together and recording music together and then mixing it, mastering. There's a lot of very good ideas coming out from the people that are in the Patreon, and I couldn't be happier, and I'm humbled that they are proposing so much stuff. Thank you very much for staying with me. It was super fun. If you have questions, you know how to reach me, where I am. So until next time, how cool is that? Thank you very much for being here. I'm gonna push the end button and you're gonna love it because it's another fun stream. Ciao.